And if we could have the roll call, please.
Tony Biancardi,
Here.
Jim Constantine is absent. Larry Fabina, Larry, are you with us? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just had to unmute it.
Okay, thank you. Wilbur Oudman
You can't read lips.
Here.
Sorry.
and Dan Marsh.
Here.
Okay, and it's January 2022. So we do need to reorganize for our officers. And so we do have president and vice president that we need.
I would nominate Tony Biancardi as president.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second for me to stay your president. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Jim Constantine, sorry, he's absent. Larry Fabina,
Yes.
Wilbur Oudman,
Yes.
Dan Marsh,
Yes.
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. And then we need a vice president.
I nominate Wilbur Oudman.
You could second that, Wilbur, if you wanted to.
I guess I could. I will.
All right, there's a motion and a second for Wilbur to be our vice president. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Larry Fabina,
Yes.
Wilbur Oudman,
Yes.
Dan Marsh,
Yes.
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. And we have the approval of minutes from our December 15, 2021 meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion?
Was
Roll
that
call.
second? Sorry, was that second by Wilbur?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Larry Fabina,
Yes.
Wilbur Oudman,
Yes.
Dan Marsh,
Yes.
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. All right, and we have a delinquency write-off request. And so this is from Corinne, and this is something that we do annually, but if you want to give us any information, Corinne, go ahead.
Sure. So this one is for $85.15. This particular resident has, he filed bankruptcy and has since moved. I have been trying to present these annually. Probably should have presented this one last year, but I didn't because it was just the one write-off. So same thing again this year, just the one write-off.
So just the one write-off of the whole,
Yeah.
all of our customers is just this one. That's not
Right.
bad.
It's uncollectible. So
Okay, and so you would be looking for us to make a motion to write it off, is that correct?
that is correct.
I'll make a motion to write it off.
Second.
Right, so a motion and a second to write off the delinquent amount of $85.15. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Larry Fabina,
Yes.
Wilbur Oudman,
Yes.
Dan Marsh,
Yes.
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. All right, in our reports tonight, we have sanitary for the past month, and then I believe we also have sanitary numbers for the year. So if you have questions or comments for Bill, and Bill, do you have anything at this point in time to communicate to us?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
All right. Anyone have questions or comments for the January report or anything in 2021?
Tony, I don't have questions on that, but I just wanted to note that Jim has joined the meeting.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so next one is the wastewater treatment plant report. Larry?
Yeah, nothing to really speak of. No, our normal wintertime freeze up issues and taking care of business, but no issues. Everything's okie dokie.
Okay, great. And engineer report.
Nothing to report except for that we calculated the pump that Bill got quote for, and it should be in order. And we are in communication with factories, I guess, to make sure that the impeller size and the chart is okay. So nothing major.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Old business. Mr. Jordan is with us, the 293 Riverside Drive sewer connection. So Kurt, I'll just let you kind of give us an update and then we'll go from there, if that's okay.
Okay. Hey, I don't know. This is my very first Zoom meeting, so I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. If somebody could acknowledge that, if I'm too loud or great. Okay. I did get answers to the questions that I had concerning some of the line items on the bids, and I summarized those in a document that I gave to Corinne several days back. So hopefully everybody has a copy of that. If you look at that, you will see that the pump costs are somewhat comparable, and there is some differences, quite a bit of difference, I guess, in the cost for the extending the line. So, and I only included the line extension and the cost of the pump in with these in these figures here. I did not include any installation costs. Mr. Sutton, while he did not submit a second bid with the new criteria, and I didn't include his on here either, because on the summary page, because he included, I'm guessing, the what is it called, the housing, the I'm looking for what the engineer called it here, the pump station in with the grinder pump cost, but his is about to extend the line is about 14,000, including road and asphalt repair. And then I'm guessing the pump would be comparable to what you would see on the others. So we do have, I guess, three somewhat comparable bids that you can look at. So with Sutton's, it looks like is going to be close to the high end. H&G is close to the high end, and Woodruff's is, I think, a little bit low, because they bid 0 for pavement restoration. And of course, there will be some of that because you will have to open up the road to connect to the lateral. So I'm hoping that these numbers will give the board, a ballpark figure about how much you would expect those two items to be.
Okay, so I did look through everything, and so did Sutton, Kurt, did they meet these 13 line items? Were they able to requote that?
They did not requote.
They did not. Okay, and
not.
Can you remind me what their total charge was?
Their total, including the directionally boring the line, was 34,800.
Okay, so there's 34,000, 29, and 28. So very, I guess, similar, not exactly similar in price, but all about the same price. I
Yes.
spoke with Shem and Jeanette this week, and the two that we have here, and we didn't talk about Sutton's because I didn't have it in front of me.
Certainly.
The two quotes, Woodruff and H&G, what they're proposing would accomplish what we are wanting to happen, which is to connect your property to the sewer. So in terms of these contracts and them meeting the specs, they would.
Okay.
Since the town or the sanitary department is not the one contracting, it wouldn't be, and Clay, correct me if I'm wrong when I say something, it wouldn't be our place, so to speak, to try to guide you towards one or the other.
I understand. that, Yeah.
Right? So you've
That's
provided
correct.
these so that we can have, thank you, Clay, so that we can have a financial picture of this and to also make sure and help you get connected properly.
That's correct.
So what I believe then at this point is for the board to decide, do we and to what extent, provide relief for this project? And then what does that look like? So is there a dollar amount that the board might want to do? And then we've had previous conversations about handling that through a reimbursable grant. So once the project's complete and 100% paid, then we would provide that relief back after that's happened. But I guess before we start that, does anyone have questions about any of the quotes or the project before we maybe attempt to have a conversation about something else? Or Shem, do you have anything to add?
Not at this moment, not as far as the quote itself. Both companies are reputable. Both, they will do a good job, provided the inspection from the town, of course, and the certification from us to the town.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Dan, Wilbur, Jim, or Larry, any questions related to the quotes?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't have any
Um,
questions either.
Okay. Jim, did you have any questions? Okay, so I guess really now the discussion, the question, and again, it is January, so now that we have this and we
Tony,
have,
Jim
yes.
was trying to talk, but he was muted.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Now he's muted. Barely hear you, Jim.
You're okay. All right. So now like I said, the question before us is, do we provide relief at what level? And, would that be in the form of a reimbursable grant? I don't know if we want to have some discussion now. It's certainly, again, it's January, and I know that we do need eventually to come to a conclusion. But maybe based on some discussion tonight, I'll take it under advisement and, come back to February with maybe a solid decision. But what's everyone think? What are you thinking?
Well, I'd like to settle it tonight. I mean, this poor man's been involved in meetings upon meeting upon meeting. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's just come up with something tonight and get it over with and give him some closure. He can move forward.
What do you have a suggestion, Dan?
Unfortunately not. I was kind of, we talked a while ago about, Bill had some information on what you all did before. I would just suggest we follow along those footsteps and make it comparable to what the town did in the past and go with that.
Okay. Historically, in the past, the town provided the grinder pump. They had, when the system went in, they purchased 3 grinder pumps and made those available to someone who might have needed those.
And then I also understand we may have some, the way his tie-in is, we may offer some assistance because his tie-in is not exactly in the right spot to make it easy for a tie-in. So maybe the pump and the cost to tie in would be our suggestion. That's my suggestion.
Okay. Wilbur, you got anything you want to add?
But, and I believe in Kurt's email, that's what he suggested, is that would the relief that he was looking for
Mhm.
was the pump and the connection from his home to the sanitary system, not all the infrastructure related from his house to the pump station.
So Kurt, if you're looking at that, you're the proposal then of the 13 lines and your original request that Wilbur is referencing, do you know, are you able to identify which line items those are?
Yes, I did that on the document, the most recent document that I gave to Corinne.
Oh, the one that you sent comparing it?
Yes.
So
The line items
3, 6,
are 3, 6, 7, 9, and 11.
okay.
And off on the columns on the right, I have the Woodruff and H&G numbers listed there.
Okay, I'm sorry. I maybe just didn't look at that correctly. Okay, so I just want to be clear for myself. So in terms of financial relief, it would be lines 3, 6, 7, 9, and 11. And then you have those quantities for Woodruff and H&G.
That's correct.
Okay,
And Mr. Sutton did not break them out in the 13 item detail.
Okay.
However, he did quote the entire project. It's just a little more,
right.
things are a little more combined. But he's at 34.8.
Right.
And the H&G is 33.5 with the updated numbers. And Woodruff is 29.9.
Mhm.
So they are very close. I'm
Yeah, that's what I
mildly
thought.
surprised about that.
Jim, what's your thoughts?
I was trying to get into my email so I can see what the newspapers were, and without seeing the figures, what the total is, I can't put any input into it. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
No, I can't
You're
make them
really
out.
quiet. I think what you said is that you can't see this one particular that we're talking about right now.
My email to look at it, and if I can't see the figures, what we're talking about money-wise, I really can't put any input into it, because we're talking about line items, but I don't know what the line items are. I thought I had it printed, but I don't see where I put it.
Okay.
I found part of it.
Tony, I can probably share it on my screen if that's helpful.
What? I don't know if you can hear me, but I didn't find it. You're talking what line items? 3, 6, 7, 9, and 11.
Yes.
You're talking a total of $16,727.
Well, that's on the high. That there's two quotes there, one from Woodruff and one from H&G. And again, we wouldn't advise him on who to go with, but as those line items are broken down that he's asking for relief on from the board, those are the dollar amounts.
There's a big difference. You're talking $8,000 difference.
Mhm. Larry, I'm not sure if you wanted to chime in or not. That's entirely up to you.
No, I think what Dan proposed, I think that's kind of fair. I think with the pump and then the hookup, take it, then after that, the responsibility of the grinder goes to Kurt.
Mhm. So Dan, do you agree with Kurt's breakdown tonight then? Is that what you were thinking as well? The 3, 6, 7, 9, and 11?
Yes.
Okay.
So the vehicle that we would use is a reimbursable grant. Is that how that money would get reimbursed to the Jordans?
That has been the discussion because as a town, we can't pay for something until the work is complete. So, you know, that I believe would be the best avenue, but Clay, do you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, I would agree. We should not be fronting the money to the resident or to the contractor before the work is done.
Okay.
Jane has told me in the past that it might be problematic to go the reimbursement route. Is that fair
Well-
to say? Hang on a second. She's right here. Why is that?
Because it would not look good on the books to reimburse some property owner for expenses. The town should be paying for the town's expenses themselves. Wow. It's one thing if people and it's a small amount, but a large dollar amount is going to cause the auditors some concerns.
Even if it's in the form of a grant that like explicitly says what's happening.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can't hear. I'm sorry. She said, because I have headphones on and she's
Yeah.
looking at me. Even if it's in the form of a grant, with all of the
Like
documentation that
explicitly,
supports that.
And who's going to draft this grant? And the council would have to approve the grant because the sanitation board doesn't have the authority to do it.
Oh, okay. When Jane and I had talked in the past about the logistics of this, she had mentioned that the town would put in the line extension, and like they did at Curly's, I guess, and then Curly just connected to that, and there we could use some vehicle similar to that instead of going the reimbursement route. You know, I'm not up
So
on all of.
if that's the case though, then my understanding would be that we would need to break up the project and then we would need to get our own quotes separate from the work that you would then have done. Is that correct, Clay?
You'd have to get a separate quote. Is that fair to say? Yeah. You'd have to,
Mhm.
the sanitation board would have to request numbers for just that one piece. It was my understanding these quotes here were just so that the board could get a idea about what the costs would be for that line.
Yeah, I think it was to get a cost of the larger project and be able to break it down, which
Sure.
I believe it did.
And it does that. Yeah. But now
Yes.
there's a, you know, and maybe you and Jane should have I mean, again, there's no rush. Maybe you and Jane should have a conversation about that. What's the word I'm looking for? The logistics of a grant methodology versus just a sanitary
Mhm.
project to extend the line.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what she's saying. I guess that's been my only thought process to this point. So
Yeah.
switching gears now is switching gears. Does anyone else, Dan, Larry, Wilbur, or Jim, have any comments?
Yeah, I guess no. From this is Larry Fabino. I guess no. The town paid for the grinder and the extension to the main line. I guess it looks like then that the grinder. No, if there's any kind of warranty or any other issues that are with the grinder, I think it's cleaner if we didn't have our hands on it at all. Whatever that is, it's Kurt's grinder, and 2 months or whatever, a year or something, there's an issue that we purchased it. I'm not sure if that becomes an issue or not.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand what I kind of try to put across, who's the ownership, who's the warranty with, and that's the only I know where Kurt's going. I can understand it, but like when we buy something as from the town compared to Kurt, know who's responsible going forward, as well as warranty work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cleaner that Kurt did it all, and he's responsible for the warranty and negotiations with whoever that the project's done with. And I think it's kind of cleaner, but I understand the issue there that Kurt's talk as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and to that same end, I think that we need to consider, kind of what Larry touched on. It's not gonna last in perpetuity, and eventually, the Jordans are gonna sell that house and no longer reside there. So do we want some future owner in 5, 10, 15, 20 years coming back and saying, well, you did it in 2022, so pay up. We want this to kind of run with the land, go with the house.
Well, if I could say something about that, I fully expect to be responsible for the pump after it is installed. Uh,
As our other residents who receive pumps from the town.
Yeah, and the line, however, you certainly don't want me or a future homeowner opening up the road trying to find a potential blockage.
No. I
yeah.
mean, anything that's on town property is the town's responsibility, but
Yeah.
anything that's on your lot, your real estate would be your future homeowner's responsibility.
Yes, and I'm fully expecting to take responsibility for that.
I just have a question. If we go back to what Kurt and Jane were asking, that the town would do the extension and then he would do the rest of the project and we would exclude the extension in this grant, there'd still be a grant for the cost of the pump and the other line items associated with the pump, correct?
Well, I was just about to ask, since Jane is kind of listening in but doesn't have headphones, because I assume she's seen your quotes, Kurt, since we have broken it down by line item, would it then be acceptable for, let's just say, Woodruff and Sons to create an invoice for specific line items for you and bill the others to the town, and that way?
Okay. Is that acceptable? Yes, that would be acceptable.
So we have that legwork done, essentially. Now, Clay, I guess my question at this point then is, what's your thought? And then if that's the case, then we do have an opinion on who does the work.
So just so I'm understanding, so we have a bid that's divided out what is the town's responsibility and the town's paying for and what the homeowner is paying for?
Correct.
Okay, what's the question then?
Okay, so I guess now, so the question is, because we have the 13 line items, we'll know who's paying what. There'll be 2 separate invoices. Now we have a stake in who does the work, right? I mean, when I started out, I was basically saying we shouldn't advise, but if we're going to split the invoice that way, then we have to agree to who does the work.
Yeah, because potentially you're going to have, if you have multiple bidders, someone, company A can bid, the town side at a lower amount, but the homeowner side at a higher amount, and then you get company B where it's the reverse, and both the town and the homeowner want to go with the lowest bidder, but it's possible that the lowest bidder in total might not be the lowest bidder for whichever side is paying. But it doesn't make sense to have 2 companies working on the project. You want it done in conjunction.
Right.
Tony, if I may interject, if the town is, I guess there's 2 questions, I guess, that I have. One, what is the issue with the grant again? I'm not quite sure what would be the issue with the grant from the town.
The State Board of Accounts.
What is it?
What is the issue with the grant?
The state does not approve the town spending town funds solely for one person. We have this problem with an audit when it came to the scholarship fund, and we had to have a legal opinion to say that we could do that. So the idea of a grant process using town revenue for a private property is not going to go well with State Board of Accounts.
I see. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't hear it at the beginning. So that's the issue. So if the town has that program as a grant for anyone that has a similar situation, would that diffuse the issue of the State Board of Accounts?
No.
No? Okay.
No, it won't.
Okay. In this case, it seems like if it's just an issue with the State Board of Account for just one case, and just like your house, if the town takes the lead on the project, so maybe the items that you will be responsible should be paid by you to the town. Is that
All right, hang on. No, we can't do that either.
The town should pay their share, the private owner should pay their own, no mixing up the money.
Yeah, the response was the town pays their share, the private property owner pays their share. There should be no mixing of monies.
Tony, it goes back to the town doing for private property. Tony, it goes back to the town.
Yeah.
doing on private property, and that's not allowed.
Yeah, and I'm following it. I think that we're
So-
at the point now that we just have to figure out, how we get there.
My point, I
If-
guess, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interject, but my point that the town is taking the responsibility to provide sanitary system to the homeowner. So it is an obligation to the town to actually provide that connection. So I think it's an obligation more than it's a grant to provide all the way to the grinder pump, which is similar to a clean out, which I like the discussion that the board had right now, that the grinder pump on to the main, that is basically the town responsibility for now. And then the grinder pump itself will be on the property for the owner, and the owner will be responsible for that grinder pump. So my point, I guess, that the sanitary board is actually providing sanitary, which that is the obligation of the sanitary board, for all the residents of the town, all the way to the grinder pump, which is similar to a clean out if it's a gravity. So I guess I'm not quite sure where is the private portion of that the State Board of Account could actually say that shouldn't be allowed. I don't know. Are you following, I guess, what I'm trying to?
Shem, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I was at another meeting and I came in partway through, so I missed some of the conversation. So what I was assuming you guys were saying this whole project would be paid by the property owner, and then there'd be some reimbursement back and forth. But if what you're saying, Shem, is the town will run the line in front of our property, and then we would take the responsibility of paying for the connection from our house to that private line or the town line, then I don't have a problem with that. But keep in mind, I came into this conversation partway through because I was just leaving a different meeting. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no problem, no problem at all. Thank you. So my
But,
point, I guess, is that similar to any developer, that it's dedicating the sanitary sewer. So the private owner, I guess, or the sanitary connection itself will happen by the developer. Let's say that this lot doesn't have any sanitary line connection previously, and they divided that land and they start building a house and they want to connect, and the connection via a pump. And one of the lots did not have a gravity line or a lateral line, so the developer is asking for relief because it wasn't there before. So that I think it's the sanitary board obligated, I guess, to provide the sanitary lateral all the way to the clean out, which is right now it's the grinder pump per se.
Tony, can I
Okay.
say something?
Yeah,
So one thing that I think we're kind of repeating ourselves, but one thing that I think that Kurt's already done the legwork where he's actually advertised for the bids, as we all know. So it's just simply as much as going to those bids then and asking them to invoice the line and the grinder pump purchase or installation or just purchase of the grinder pump, and invoicing the town for that work. And then they would invoice Kurt for the other work. And that would be approved by us by inspection and the approval of the engineers for the line, like Shim said, that we're providing to them. I think that's fairly simplistic of having them just split those two invoices separately. And then the work's going to be inspected and followed up by us and the engineers anyhow, as far as certification and installation.
Clay, do you agree with what Bill just said?
Yes, I think, if we know who has bid on it and who can do the work, just see if they can rework the bids.
So that they're separated between what
Exactly.
would be,
Yes.
okay. Kurt, does that make sense?
Yes, yes. So
Does that,
let
does
me
that make
summarize here.
Mrs. Jordan happy?
Oh, I don't know. Let me summarize that. We'll basically just have the contractor submit invoices, 2 different invoices, one to the town and one to me for the different aspects of the project.
Yeah, I think
But
that
I
is,
think we need actual new bids, I think, to show that different work. And I think before the work is done, if the town's paying for any of it, it needs to be approved by the sanitation board, if it's coming out of the sanitation budget.
So the contract will be with the sanitary board, or at least portion of the work will be contracted by the sanitary board.
But before the work starts, the sanitary board needs to know what
Oh,
the work is and how much it costs. And right now we don't have that.
You're correct, Clay. And I think the quote needs to be initiated by the sanitary board, not by Kurt.
Well,
Or
then
requested.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
okay. So let's back up a second because we've had a few different conversations. All right. So is the board in agreement with the line items that Kurt has suggested that we would separate out? So 3, 6, 7, 9, and 11, or are we suggesting that it might be different?
More mandatory for me to put in an actual dollar figure, what we take responsibility of. And it still needs to be brought up, a legal document that after seeing the town is no longer responsible for it. If they sell the property somewhere down the road, the new owners can't come back on the town and say, we did it once, do it again.
Okay, so Jim's talking about the pump because that, if I'm correct, is line 3 on what Kurt suggested.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
So-
that, Tony, could be just a simple agreement that we draw up after completion of the installation, that the homeowner accepts responsibility.
Mhm.
And that
So
I-
Shem, yeah, so Shem, you were talking about, what the town's responsibility to this point and then the homeowners. Do you agree that 3, 6, 7, 9, and 11 are town responsibilities and the others would be the homeowner?
From the standpoint of installation, yes.
Okay. Does everyone else on the board agree with that? Anyone disagree?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with taking those line items and having those separated out.
So line items 3, 6, 7, 9, and 11 of the 13 on the invoice, the board would then agree that that would be the town installation. So our responsibility.
Yes.
So my thought is if we do agree on that, then like Clay and Shem, and I think Bill chimed in, what we need to do is go, I guess, I mean, we've got the quote, so correct me if I'm wrong, go back to both or all 3 and ask them to do this, or do we choose one?
I think it's
that-
I think it's a request for bids. Request for bids to all 3 and be specific on where the project needs to be split up. Because they
Okay.
may sharpen their pencil, I don't know.
Okay. So, who, like spearheads that of taking care of that and making sure it's clear?
We
So-
will, Tony, the engineer definitely is a responsible party for getting quotes for public works project or sanitary, I should say, in this case. Because it is public project right now, or I'm sorry, it's public works project. And it will require the 3 quotes, and it will require the contractor to follow specification now for the sanitary board. And the contract will be with the sanitary board for those items only.
Okay,
Yeah, I can't do anything until that part of it is done anyway. So I have to
correct,
wait for that.
right.
And Kurt, if you don't mind that there is going to be in the specification, we might send it to you for your review, because some of the work, especially the pump, it will need to be connected to your electric.
Yes.
So we might have a co-sign, if you will, or an agreement of access, if you will, until the actual pump is running for the certification to you and to the town, actually, both. And then you can accept the pump after the operation of the pump.
Okay. Yeah, that, somebody mentioned something about the contractor sharpening pencils. I have to point out on the Woodruff and Sons, they bid $10,000 to hook up the pump electricity. And, I have a small house. I could get my house rewired for $10,000. And so, there is a little bit of that already in these bids.
Sure.
But I agree with Shem. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this project done here. So.
Okay, Shem, how do you think that you could have these for a February meeting, or is that too ambitious?
No, I think it's fair, because most of the work or the specification is done. It's just breaking it out, and sending a contract, actually, or a public works contract instead of a private contract now, or just a bid sheet that is for the private developer, I should say, or a homeowner. So
Okay,
yes, by February, I think it should be okay. Hopefully the contractors are responsive enough and not that busy these days, which I think, most of them are definitely can submit a bid in these days. They don't have crews outside, I guess, so they have the capacity to work on a bid.
I feel like with that information, with those 3 quotes identified, what would be, the town would be taking responsibility for at February's meeting, we should be able to make that decision. Does
Okay.
anyone have input or disagree with that? I think now that we have those lines, we'll have 3 solid numbers for exactly what we would be looking at. Dan, you got anything? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I believe hopefully we may not get a response from Sutton, but at least we'll probably have 2 that Shem and Kurt can work with, and we can review and put this to bed.
Yeah,
Great.
I think now having this solid information and, having it sorted out this way, February, if we're able, we'll have, quotes before us and we can award one. Jim, do you have anything to add?
What's going on with my mic? I don't think you hear me.
I can barely hear you, but I'm trying.
I don't have anything put in.
Okay, Wilbur, you got anything that you want to add to that?
No, it sounds good to me.
Okay, Larry, that sound okay?
I'm good.
All right, so then Shem, you're going to work on getting quotes specifically for us, and that'll be some coordination with Kurt. And the goal will be to have those quotes for February's meeting.
Sounds like a plan.
And then, as Dan said, we can put this to bed,
Yes.
hopefully. Hopefully,
Yes.
no promises, Kurt. You never know what's
All
going
right.
to happen.
Let me just point out that I also will have to probably submit new requests for bids as well.
And maybe
because-
you can do
yeah.
those simultaneously so that the person understands.
And
Yeah.
I'll try, but especially I think it was Woodruff they would not reconsider anything. They said they were standing by their original bid, and I wouldn't be surprised if they said the same thing.
Okay, well, at
but-
least then we've got it in February.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah,
But I'll try to get
Um,
them done simultaneously as well. Yeah,
yeah, so Shem will work with you on that.
cool.
Okay. I think we have a plan.
It sounds great to me.
Okay.
Let me just express my heartfelt appreciation for all of the time you guys have spent with me on this. I know it's it's been going probably since before the new year, right? I think it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so again, I appreciate all of the time you spent on this, and I'm looking forward to a very successful project here. So
Great, thank you.
thank you all.
All right, old business number 2, this is just a standing item. If any future infrastructure, if something comes up, a place for us to make sure it gets in the record so we don't lose track of anything. Bill or Shem, anything new that you guys see on the horizon for us?
Not from my side. I guess maybe Bill will have something like replacement of pumps or so, but
Right.
I think there was some discussion in the past about extending a line on Old Porter Road, if I remember right. That kind of fell through because the development did not happen or did not occur.
Right.
So that was the only thing that was actually on the radar for us, but it seems like it's on hold for now, but hopefully a development will occur soon.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to new business. We've got approval of claims with 3 or more signatures, and Corinne did give us the cover sheet of claims. So you'd be able to see those since we are virtual.
Hey, Tony, there are also 2 purchase orders.
Yep, you know what, I was gonna have, we'll do those next.
Okay.
We'll do the claims first, so Bill can tell us. Jim, I think you were saying something. All right, Jim made a motion to approve the claims.
Second,
All right, a motion and a second to approve claims with 3 or more signatures. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Jim Constantine, Larry Fabina,
Yes.
Wilbur Outman,
Yes.
Dan Marsh,
yes.
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. We also have 2 POs that were submitted. Bill, go ahead and tell us what's up with those.
The purchase order, the one is for the conference that we've attended in the past. This time I was wanting to take the part-time labor with me, Adam Friday. It's 2 days of classroom, and with the classes are $160 each, which really didn't need a PO, but then hotel stay is what fell. I believe it was 900 and some change. Don't have it in front of me, but that's what that's for. And then I was looking for approval with the board to also pay our wages while we're at the class, as we always ask for while we're there.
All right, so 3 things: the class that you're asking, the hotel for a room for you and Adam for those days that you're gone, and of course your salary is included, but what you're asking are part-time wages for Adam.
Correct, to pay his part-time
And
wages
how many
Wednesday.
hours would that be?
8 hours a day.
And how many days will you be gone?
We will leave Monday morning and then we'll be back Wednesday night.
So 3 days.
Yes,
So 24 hours, is that what you're asking for then?
correct.
Okay.
Back a couple of years ago that we would cover their wages anytime they went to classes.
Say that again, Jim, because I can't hardly hear you.
I say, I thought a couple of years back when this came up, we made a motion that we automatically paid our wages anytime they went to classes.
It did, but you always wanted me to come to you and ask permission so you knew what was going on. And this one's a little different because I'm taking a part-time labor.
I make a
So it's
motion
a,
wages.
Can I ask what this conference is about? What the gist of it is, Bill?
You're muted, Bill.
You're muted, Bill.
Okay, sorry. I'm taking one on odor control and pump maintenance. Adam's taking one over variable systems. So it's different classes that we could take. It's all doing with sanitary and the lift stations and things like that.
Thank you.
All right, so I heard Jim make a motion. Jim, was it just for the part-time wages for Adam, or were you approving all three?
It is for to improve his abilities to do his job. Now, what's going on with this mic? I say that if it's to better his ability to do his work for the sanitation department, so we should cover the wages.
Okay, so Jim has made a motion to cover wages for Bill and Adam when they are away at the conference.
I'll second that.
What about his hotel expenses?
I think we'll do that. I'll let you do that one next, Dan.
All right,
Okay, all right, so we've got a motion and a second to cover wages for Bill and Adam. Adam up to 24 hours because he has a part-time labor while they're away at the conference. Any more discussion? Corinne, does that cover what you guys will need?
Yes, as long as you
Okay.
do the PO in a separate motion.
Yes, okay. All right, roll call on the wages.
Jim Constantine,
Yes,
Larry Fabina,
Yes,
Wilbur Outman,
Yes,
Dan Marsh,
yes,
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. All right, so we still have the outstanding PO for the hotel.
make a motion to approve the cost of the hotel.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion and a second to cover the hotel. Any more discussion?
Does that also include the PO for the class registrations?
The class didn't need a PO, right, Bill? Because it was just 160.
That's correct.
So we just need to approve the expenditure for the hotel.
Yeah, and the PO for the hotel is 950.04.
Thank you. All right, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Wilbur,
Thank you. Jim Constantine,
yes,
Larry Fabina,
yes,
Wilbur Outman,
Yes,
Dan Marsh,
yes,
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. Okay, and then we have spending review, delinquencies, and flow report. The first two we have by the month, and then I also think for the last year. We got any questions, comments on those?
Tony, I'm sorry, may I interrupt?
Mhm.
There was one more PO that was sent out. Purchase
Oh,
order
I'm sorry.
2944 for WS Darley and Co.
Oh,
for-
yes, I'm so sorry. I did miss that. All right, and Bill, this is what our grant covered, right?
Yes, this is the second part. Remember I told you guys that we were waiting for the lanyards? So
Yes.
that's what that is for. And this should be, as soon as they give me the notice, the reimbursable grant. And Jane's aware of that as well. Her and I have had discussion on it.
Okay. I just was looking for the total for that. I haven't. So we have the one more PO for those lanyards. What's the total, Corinne?
1,257.98.
All right, so we would need a motion to approve that one as well.
make a motion to approve.
second that.
Motion in a second. Any more discussion? Thanks for reminding me about that. Roll call, please.
Jim Constantine,
yes,
Larry Fabina,
yes,
Wilbur Outman,
Yes,
Dan Marsh,
Yes,
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. Okay, comments, questions on the spending review, delinquencies, or flow report?
Tony, the only thing I want to point out to you guys is the flow report. You'll see lift station number 1. We have an issue with our flow meter right now. So we've pulled it out. I've got it on the bench right now, and hopefully we could get that thing working again here in the next couple days.
Okay, and that's over at Shady Side, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, we are at good of the order of the community and any other business.
Tony, the only other thing that I have is you guys should have had a correspondence about generator maintenance. We used to use Cummins. They've been hard to deal with. So we went out and obtained some new quotes for services for actually all three. It includes the town hall one, which that could be expense through town hall, but the one at the the street department now, that building, and then the one out at lift station number 2, that includes both of those. You'll see that service agreement of 350, I think, Corinne, I don't have it in front of me, a
Sure.
piece.
320.
Yeah, it's 320, and then 420. So the lift station generator is 420.
So I'm just looking for approval on the board to go ahead and sign those to get that annual service done. They're a lot cheaper than what Cummins was. Cummins, if you remember right, was well over $1,000.
So this is an annual charge?
Yes, they'll come out and change the oil, check the charging system, and make sure that they're running efficiently.
So it's something that we would need to do every January. It's not going to auto renew itself.
That is correct.
Okay. And you said it covers public works, generator, the police and town hall, and lift station
2.
number 2.
Yeah, and
And
I
it's a
didn't know, I know Corinne works out of there, so I didn't know reason I included all 3 of them. It's just as important for them to work if we just wanted to pay for all 3 of them.
Okay. And so that is with, is that Boender Electric? And it's for $1,060.
That's correct.
Okay. If someone on the board, if you guys want to approve this, we'll just need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we got a motion by Jim,
Second.
a second by Dan. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Jim Constantine,
Yes.
Larry Fabina,
Yes.
Wilbur Outman,
Yes.
Dan Marsh,
Yes.
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. All right, any other good of the order?
Yes, I was wondering, were you able to arrange a meeting at the sanitary plant for the when the trucks do the cleaning of the system?
We did.
the pump trucks?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, we're making some good progress. We have another meeting next in February. We're gonna do the plant is looking at some things in-house, and we're also going to continue to reach out to some local municipalities. So hopefully we'll have Larry, if you want to chime in, but I think we're still working on a solution, but we're all working together towards one.
All the arrows are going in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so we meet again in February, so we may have an update before the next meeting.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. If there aren't any other business, I have no announcements except our next meeting will be February 16th. That's my wedding anniversary. Okay. I guess I'll hang out with you guys.
For an hour.
All right.
All right. Take
Motion to
care.
adjourn.
Enjoy the
Motion.
snow.
Right.
Second.
Motion and a second. Motion by Wilbur, second by Dan. Roll call, please.
Jim Constantine,
Yes.
Larry Fabina,
Yes.
Wilbur Outman,
Yes.
Dan Marsh,
Yes.
Tony Biancardi.
Yes. All right. Thank you all.